Our next speaker is Maria Caruda. Her talk is Acciona Energy's renewable energies Acciona Energía's renewable energy projects in Australia. And she's obviously working for Acciona Australia in the energy team. Thank you very much and welcome. I'm pleased to present someone in person.
Thank you. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Carmen, and thank you everyone for having me here today. My name is Maria Caruda, and I work for Acciona Energía down here in Australia. And today, I'm going to talk to you about a few of our flagship Australian energy projects, and I'll touch a little bit on innovation and collaboration and partnerships that we have down here in Australia. And just to finish up, I'll give you a brief virtual tour of one of our wind farms down in Victoria. So who is Acciona? Acciona is a global leader in sustainable infrastructure. So we have three key business units. There's the infrastructure unit that focuses on major projects, including road, rail, bridges, tunnels. You may have heard of the Sydney Light Rail and the new Western Sydney Airport as well. There's then the second business unit is Acciona Agua, which focuses on water, so desalination plants and wastewater treatment. And the third business unit is renewable energy. So that's the one I'm going to be talking to you about today. And the main focus is on wind, solar PV, hydro, and biomass. So Acciona has a presence in over 40 countries, and it has more than 75 years of history, and it's family owned by the Entre Canales family. And we have a big focus on research, innovation, and development. So Acciona Energía has been in Australia since 2002. And we've got a big presence in the market. We've got 600 megawatts of renewable energy capacity in operation and commissioning stages. So that's across the eastern border, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia. And we've got 1 gigawatt wind farm that's going to be constructed next year in southern Queensland. We also have a 3 gigawatt projects in the pipeline. So that's mostly onshore wind and solar PV projects, which are at different stages of development. Acciona Energía employs over 130 staff across the eastern border that is just dedicated to renewable energy development. And we also get a lot of support from Spain, our headquarters, especially from that engineering capacity. So in terms of some of our key flagship projects, right at the bottom, we've got Cathedral Rocks. So that's in the Eyre Peninsula and down in South Australia. That's a 64 megawatt wind farm. And that was a JV with Energy Australia. And that's been operational since 2007. Our next project, it just celebrated its 10th year anniversary. That's a Woolbra Wind Farm in Victoria, in Western Victoria. That's 192 megawatt. Then we've got Gellibrand Wind Farm, not too far away, about an hour away from Woolbra. And that's been operational since 2018. That's a 302 megawatt wind farm. Not too far from our Gellibrand, we've got Mortlake. That's currently at commission stage. So that's kind of that period after you finish construction and before you energize the wind farm. So still doing a few tests. It should be running by next year, hopefully. We've got Gunning Wind Farm, which is our own first wind farm down here in New South Wales, which has been operational since 2011. And our biggest project at the moment, that's the McIntyre Wind Precinct, just southwest of Warwick in southern New South Wales, in southern Queensland, which will commence operations next year. So that's the biggest wind farm in Australia. That's 1 gigawatt. That's 180 turbines that will be going up next year. And that's a partnership that's being developed with Clinco, the Queensland government. And yeah, it'll be helping Queensland reach those targets in terms of clean energy. So Acciona Energía works throughout the whole life cycle, and it develops, builds, owns, and operates. So it's a great business model. So we're involved from the really early stages of prospecting, which we sometimes do through acquisitions, but mostly we focus on greenfield projects. So that early stage involves energy resource assessments, those initial discussions with landowners and the farmers on the land. And then that's pushing that project through to planning, getting the planning approval, and then all the engineering that's involved. So all the design, getting all the right layouts, and the procurement. It also includes the sale of the energy, so getting those PPAs in place, and the construction, and then the operation and maintenance as well. So just briefly touching on a few examples, Acciona is always interested in new collaborations and partnerships, and whether it's with industry members, academia, or government. So here are just a couple of some examples of work that we've done with Deakin University. So the first one is we developed in partnership with Deakin University a drone for wind turbine inspection. So this drone allows us to inspect the wind turbines during high wind environments, which is great because it means we can continue operating and producing energy without having to stop the wind turbine, which is usually about 4 hours that needs to be stopped so we can do all of this work. The other one is we also at Deakin University, we developed a virtual reality headset. So this is really helpful during community engagement process, and just for the public as well, so they can visualize and hear and kind of feel what it's like having a turbine at different spaces depending on the configuration, which is really helpful before a wind farm's actually constructed. The third one and most recent one is a partnership that we've established with Federation University. So we funded the Asia Pacific Renewable Energy Training Centre along with a couple of other renewable energy developers. So this provides like the first centre in Australia to actually train a local pool of talent in Australia. So we're providing a training facility, which is the first one in Australia to do some essential training for anyone that's working in a wind farm. And just to finish up, I'll give you a quick virtual tour to one of our wind farms down in Victoria. So this is Waubra Wind Farm. It's been around since 2009. It just gives you a bit of an intro in terms of how we operate and how these wind farms work.
This wind farm was built over 11 years ago in 2009. It was one of the first wind farms in Victoria and in Australia, and it was the largest at the time. We have 128 wind turbines at 1.5 megawatts, spread over 173 square kilometres, which equates to powering enough houses of about 138,000. There are 37 host landholders that we deal with here at the wind farm. They farm things such as potatoes, garlic, lots of different crops. There's farming here that is both cattle and sheep, predominantly sheep grazing. What the wind farms allowed those landholders to do is diversify, which has been great. We have a really good relationship. There are 9 full-time staff at the wind farm with probably over 100 contractors that come in and out of the wind farm over a year. So we've got 3 turbine technicians that were previously mechanical maintenance fitters, and also we've got electricians that have worked in both a commercial and a domestic situation, which have been able to transfer their skills over to working in a wind turbine. We hire local tradespeople because they have that connection with the community, have a good relationship with local suppliers, and are able to leverage that. We run a lot of tours at the wind farm, ranging from primary school, high school. We do some trade tours up to Probus clubs. We get lots of interesting questions and we get lots of great comments about how big they are and how they look so little from the road. The wind farm was originally tipped to be 25 years here, but we're now looking at extending that and looking into programs on how to make the wind turbines last longer. So we've got a whole engineering team in Spain working on that. We have a lease with the landholders that lasts for 25 years. So after that time, we can also look at extending it or looking at putting in new turbines with latest and greatest technology. We are really proud to work within the local communities. We build and operate our wind farms, and over the lifespan of this project alone, we've invested over 600,000 into the local community, into different sporting groups, land care. We've been able to provide scholarships and sponsorships. They've been able to build a community hub in Warborough. There's also been art shows, markets. We're really proud as Acciona to be working with the local community to get clean energy solutions happening, especially for small rural communities where before there wasn't access to this type of funding and to scholarships and sponsorships. We have a long-term view of all of our projects. We build and operate these projects, and we are here for the long haul.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions in the audience? We have. Like saying, I didn't know where. Important to have these type of projects, no? After all, seeing the presentation on the global climate change.
So Australia seems to be plagued with lots of wind farm skeptics. Is that something that you have to deal with a lot?
Yes, no, great question. So it's actually changed a little bit over the last 10 years. We used to have quite a few. It has changed over the last couple of years. So we don't get as many, but every now and then, yeah, there'll be a few in the community that are against it, or like it's also a good opportunity to kind of inform them and point them into the right direction in terms of those good sources that can give them the peace of mind as well. But yeah, we'll always work on communities that are supportive and want to have a wind farm. If they don't, we'll never work there.
I'm holding the conch.
You've got the power.
Maria, you touched upon the lifespan of each of those turbines whilst in that green and clean space. What programs do you have for disposing of it in an environmentally acceptable way?
Yeah, no, great question as well. So we're actually working with various industry members at the moment and finding ways to recycle that. So, for example, the steel tower, that's something that can go on for many years. So we'll usually, after those 25 to 30 years, if that's still standing, we'll just replace the parts that need changing, and then we'll re-permit and repower again for another 25 or 30 years, if that's possible. And those parts that you mentioned that may not be able to go ahead again, we're looking at different ways of recycling it. So there's a couple of groups at the moment in Australia that are looking at ways of recycling that.